Imagine starting your day like any other. You get ready for the work, stop at a petrol pump, and suddenly the price of fuel has doubled overnight. Cafes surge, food deliveries become expensive, flight tickets shoot up. Within days, groceries cost more, businesses slow down, and stock market around the world starts falling. And the reason behind all of this isn't a global recession or even a war between superpowers. It's a tiny stretch of corridor, thousands of kilometers away in the Middle East, a place most people even have never heard of. Every single day, nearly 20% of the world's total oil supply passes through this tiny corridor called as the Strait of the Hormuz. That means 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil used on Earth passes through this strait. And what makes this even more interesting is that the northern side of the strait is controlled by Iran, a country that has repeatedly threatened to shut it down. So if Iran has the power to disrupt a fifth of the world's total oil supply, why hasn't it ever actually done it? To understand why this strait matters so much, we need to zoom out and look at the map. Most of the world's largest oil reserves are in only one region, the Persian Gulf. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, Iraq, and Iran sit on some of the world's largest oil reserves on the planet. Every single day, millions of barrels of oil are pumped out through these fields and loaded onto the tankers. But here's the catch. All the tankers are trapped inside the Persian Gulf, and there is only one natural exit from the Persian Gulf to the ocean, and that is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow doorway through which the energy of the Middle East flows to the rest of the world. From the single passage, roughly 17 to 20 million barrels of oil passes every single day, which is why many analysts consider the strait to be the most important energy choke point of the world. Single choke point which quietly keeps the global economy running. But the Strait of Hormuz has a feature that is far more fascinating and far more dangerous. At its narrowest point, the Strait of Hormuz is only about 33 kilometers wide. At first glance, you might think that that's a pretty much of a big space for the ships to travel through, right? But in reality, the ships cannot just sail anywhere they want inside the strait. They have to follow a carefully created maritime traffic system similar to the lanes in the highway. It is regulated by the International Navigation Law. Inside the strait, there are two narrow shipping lanes, one for the ships entering the Persian Gulf, another for the ships exiting. Each of these shipping lanes is about 3 kilometers wide with a small buffer zone in between them. So despite the strait being over 30 kilometers wide, all of the world's oil tankers are forced to pass through just a few kilometers of waters. In other words, all of the world's global energy supply has to pass through a corridor which is far smaller than many of the cities of the world. And this is exactly the reason why Strait of Hormuz is such a powerful choke point. Now, this raises a critical question. What would really happen if the Strait of Hormuz was blocked? The biggest issue is that the Gulf energy exports simply cannot leave the region without passing through the straits. Countries like Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait rely almost entirely on it to reach the global market. Only two countries have partial workarounds around this. Firstly, the Saudi Arabia, which has the East-West pipeline, which can move approximately 5 million barrels of oil per day. And secondly, UAE, which has a pipeline from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah on the Gulf of Oman, which can roughly move around 1.5 million barrels of oil per day. So combine this route can bypass at max 30 to 35% of the oil that normally leaves the region, which means nearly two-thirds of the region's exports would still be trapped in this region if the Strait of Hormuz was closed. And all of these exports are not going to the Western countries, it's going to the Asian market. Around 80 to 90% of the total exports going through this region goes to the Asia, with countries like China sourcing 40 to 45%, India 40%, South Korea 65%, and Japan 75%. Together, these four economies account for almost 75% of the energy exports and 65% of the LNG passing through this strait. So, a disruption in this region wouldn't be just a regional crisis, it would affect the energy security of the world's largest economies, and that is why this choke point has such a strategic importance. which means the Strait of Hormuz isn't just another shipping route, it's a single point of failure for the global economy, a narrow corridor through which the flow of energy is passed to some of the world's most powerful nations. And yet, despite having the ability to destroy all of this, Iran has never actually fully shut it down. So the real question is, what's stopping them? Because the answer isn't just about the oil, it's about military power, global alliances, and a risk that could spiral into something far more worse than energy crisis. And that's exactly what we'll discuss in the part 2.